Hey, this is Alfred Edmond, Senior VP, Executive Editor at Large at Black Enterprise. Welcome to Black Men Excel, our celebration of excellence and leadership of Black men. And we got a great panel because this really goes to the heart of what it means to succeed as a Black man, particularly in the current times with COVID, the battle for racial equity and social justice, and then just the day-to-day challenges of excelling as Black men. And the panel we got together is just amazing. Because they are really on top of that. We're talking about the theme of succeeding under fire, what it takes to excel as Black men. And the three brothers we got here can hit this from just so many multiple angles. We're here with Randal Pinkett, CEO of BCT Partners. We're here with Tony Parker, who is the educator and the founder of A Call to Men. And we're here with the one and only Michael Vick, NFL analyst, quarterback extraordinaire, just changed the game, but also has a powerful story of his journey to success, challenges, recovery, retribution, and then continuing to excel today as a husband, a father, and an activist. Welcome, brothers, to this conversation. I'm so glad you guys made it here.
Glad to be here, Alfred.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start at the top, and I'll kick it off. Randall, you can kick it off. You guys can just jump in at any time. What does it mean in the current environment? We're talking about post-George Floyd. Everything has changed. The world is, at least responding right now, whether you're talking about corporate America, the push for social justice around the world, certainly across the country. But the issues that were symbolized by this, this latest act that kicked off this latest stage of the movement is not a new thing for us as Black men in America, excelling, but excelling in often a hostile environment. What does it mean, though, today to excel as Black men today?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in first, Alfred, and thanks for moderating this discussion. 2020 is a year we will never forget. And for Black men, one that we should not forget. I think about 3 Ps when I think about 2020. I think about purpose. And I think we're all asking ourselves some hard questions about, well, what is our purpose when we see what's happening to other Black men? If you haven't done any soul searching in 2020 to ask, what more can I do? Like, what more am I called to do? Then you missed the memo for 2020. Second, I think about perseverance. We have 3 pandemics happening right now: a health pandemic, an economic pandemic, and a racism pandemic, all overlapping. And if you have to dig down deep to find that perseverance, to figure out, how do I survive 2020 with my job intact, with my health intact, with my livelihood intact, my psychological well-being intact, given all of what we're experiencing, unlike anything we've seen before. And then last, I just think about, passion, passion for our people, passion for our community, passion for giving back, passion for making a difference, and allowing that to be the fuel to the fire for how we really, to the point of this panel, how we really persevere through 2020.
Michael, you both as an analyst, obviously you're observing Black men who have been under the spotlight as athletes over the last 5 years, going back to the Colin Kaepernick and kneeling and the challenges of what it really means to be a Black athlete. You obviously had your own journey of challenges of being celebrated, then hated, and then vindication, and you persevering regardless of what people thought of you. You kept on with what you thought of yourself and kept pushing to be the man you want to be. Talk about what you're observing in young athletes today who are often battling these forces as Black men, but also you're also someone who has lived that life and dealt with those battles both off the field and on the field as a man, as a family man, et cetera.
Yeah, I think young athletes today, they straddle the fence in terms of, what should I do, what shouldn't I do? And it can be very complicated. A lot of them come up from backgrounds where they're not taught, not educated, and they don't have that guidance in order to prepare themselves for what they're going to be facing, whether it's life after high school, college, fulfill their obligations in life, and personal goals, and make it to whatever profession. You kind of lose sight of, or don't have the guidance on how am I supposed to conduct myself? How am I supposed to handle situation A, situation B? And without the proper guidance, father figures, mentors, people in your life that is going to help steer you in the right direction. Sometimes it can be difficult. And then when you start dealing, with the lines of your profession and what comes along with that, if you're not educated in terms of what happened to me, where, I was able to, set my own course, I still deviated from that course. And it wasn't because I didn't follow my dreams. It was because I, went away from the things that got me to that point, the guidance, the people who helped me. And then that's straddling the fence. And a lot of young athletes go through that. And, I think now, my focus is to help them understand, you are in total control. And if you're put in a position where, you have all these things at your exposure, then, if it's positive, then, set the course and make yourself and make the people around you believers, man. And we all put in high positions for a reason. I've been through a lot, and I look back and say, man, I want to help the younger generation not make the mistakes that I made. So, I'm looking at it as being a leader, stepping up to the forefront and trying to help guys, the next generation, understand that they're the next generation. They're the most important.
Hey man, that's right on point, Tony. At least right to what you've been doing, Tony, in terms of the work of the call to men. That as much as we're excelling in this, very challenging times that we've had throughout our history in this country, you're talking about what Mike was talking about. How can we take what we've learned through experience, through observation, and prepare a better path, a better way of living, a better set of decision making, and a framework for excellence for the next generation? And that's what A Call to Men is all about. You've worked with sports leagues, the NFL, you've worked with the military, but talk about what this event is really about. How do we take the excellence we've already achieved, but lay a framework for them to build on what you, Michael, Randal, what we have done and experienced, so they can go further under our guidance and leadership.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Alfred, and I definitely connect with what Brother Randal and Mike just shared. My thing is for us as men, particularly as Black men, how do we really, band around each other? I think we can learn a lot from sisters, actually. The way sisters, Black women, connect with each other, we can learn a lot from them just by watching them. I appreciate Mike talking about what I would call using your influence, right? Using your platform, right? To invest in the next generation of Black men. As Black men, we're taught that, asking for help, accepting help, offering help is all like a sign of weakness. That's really tripping us up as men. All right, we need to connect on a more intimate level. Even the word intimacy jacks us up as men. That is like a word we don't want to use, right? Because it's what it speaks to is a level of closeness, and it's really important for we as men to really gather around each other in a much more intimate way. Brother Randal was talking about the psychological impact on us as men. As men, the only emotion that we give each other permission to express is anger, right? And so when you look at where we're at emotionally speaking, we shut it down. I've been around Mike, he might not remember, I've been around him many times in team rooms from, particularly when he came back in the league at Philadelphia. That first week he was back, I was in the team room with him, and we were talking about healthy manhood, what it means to be a man, how to show up, how to be together, how to learn not to just stuff everything away, man. We stuff it all away. We stuff it away so deep, we act like we don't even have it, right? And so when I think about brothers and I think about the lack of emotional intelligence we have, because we don't even explore how we feel, it's tripping us up. It's all of that when you put it all together and then you couple it with this race construct that we live in and all we experience in there, it makes it very, very difficult for us to overcome.
You hit the nail on the head in terms of why we even established Black Men Excel 4 years ago. Our most successful brand and event at Black Enterprise is the Women of Power Summit. I mean, they're ahead of us by about a decade. Our largest event, our most successful event. And one of the things that always happened with me as one of the male executives that gets to go every year is all the men leave there saying, man, we need to emulate the way these sisters come together and build up each other up. We need to emulate how they share success strategies and are available for each other year round. And that really was the genesis for creating this event, Black Men Excel, to create that environment. And even it's a younger event, but we were already seeing the benefit, the fruit of that with the brothers that come and engage. I mean, this year virtually, because we do need to avail ourselves of one another. Mike, I kind of want to throw it back to you. You are in a unique position. I'm not just talking about athletes. I'm talking about men in general. You have a credibility because of what you've been through, what you've overcome, the capacity to rebound from adversity, that you could talk in a way to the rest of us that's far more authentic and far more credible than maybe other people can, because you have been on both sides of this equation, the ups and the deepest downs and the return. Talk about how you received, because you can really hit the whole spectrum of what it means to be a Black man, both the ups and the downs, and your personal commitment to overcoming adversity and still excelling anyway.
Yeah, in all honesty, I look at my life and the ups and downs and where I've been and where I'm going, and I'm like, looking at the positives, and then I look at the negatives. The positives is, now I have a platform. Now I can teach. Use the each one teach one method and help. Just young men in general excel in their lives, and just give them some type of hope and belief based on my example. The negatives I look at is, the reason I do have this platform is because I made a bad decision. It's pros and cons to it, and I respect it and I appreciate it. But I try to explain to young men and women the hurt and the anguish that I experienced to grow stronger and to get to where I'm at today. And I want my message to be, at all costs, you're not going to go through life perfect. There are going to be some ups and downs, but it's all in how you persevere. Are you resilient? Where's your mental toughness, mental and physical, because it coincides and it has to coexist. And, my mental toughness came from, the trials and tribulations, from bad decisions, and it could have all been avoided. So, I preach a hard message when I'm talking to the youth in terms of responsibility, character, your beliefs, values, morals. Your mom and dad, your guidance, your guardians. Whoever is that person of close contact, you have that respect for. You lean on them before you go into the outside world, and then you get your guidance from there. You let God lead you from there, and it was always a scary journey for me. Whether it was in high school trying to have a upstanding GPA, in order to be capable of going to Virginia Tech. Still trying to maintain and still trying to play football at the same time, living a different life, and still trying to grow as a man in the atmosphere that I was in, and then making it to the National Football League and having money. It's a whole bunch of different circumstances and opportunities, but decision making is prominent every day. And it was a scary journey because I was afraid to fail, and then I failed, and it was like, now I got to get myself back up and kind of pick up where I left off, but do it a little better this time around. So, my message to the youth and the next generation is, do it a little bit better the next time around, whether it's tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now. Look back at your mistakes, the things that didn't go so well, and find a way to correct it.
Mike, you hit on a great point, Randal. I want to throw this to you. Mike just talked about being afraid to fail. And it could be argued that all human beings struggle with being afraid to fail. But we as men, Black men, often have an extra burden because of the things we've already talked about, all that pressures. My white male counterpart may have the same fears, but he's not operating in the same environment.
Mm-hmm.
You wrote a book called Black Faces in White Places, where you're talking about in corporate environments, in industries, every industry, we're expected to do twice as well, make no mistakes, no margin for error. We can't be mediocre. We have counterparts who can be mediocre and still move on in their career, but you have to be excellent. But at the same time, you're operating with all of those elements that both Mike and Tony has talked about. that your counterpart that you're competing against isn't just not operating with those burdens, including the psychological impact of watching men who look like you spend the last 8 minutes and 46 seconds of their life with a knee on their neck. And you got to go to work, whether it's, you know, in the analyst booth, whether it's, you know, at a conference, whether you're running a business, and you got to put all that aside and still excel. So Randal, and you guys can jump in, once Randal says he has to say, what does it mean to excel literally under fire, even when it's not somebody on TV, you know, even when nobody's really in your face, but you're still under fire and you're still expected to overproduce and overdeliver?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Alfred. And in the book, we talk about there being one game with two sets of rules, a set of rules for us and a set of rules for everybody else. And I'm reminded of my my finale from The Apprentice. And I'm reminded of something you wrote the night of or the day after my finale, because there was a situation at the end where I was treated under that different set of rules and expected to share my title with the white runner-up. And you wrote almost verbatim, what happened to Randal happens to millions of African Americans every day. He just had millions of people watching. Those were your words, not mine. And I'll never forget that when I read that, because it was so on point and so well said. And so how do you counteract, you know, the racism and the stereotypes and the low expectations and all the things that are layered upon us as Black men? Well, my response to that is one word: excellence. And it's in the name of this conference, Black Men Excel, excellence. Meaning, you know, a meritocracy is this idea that if you work hard, you're rewarded, but that is outside of your control. You can't control if you're in a meritocracy, but what you can control is whether you are excellent at what you do. And that's not to say that excellence is the silver bullet for racism, but rather to say it's the best counter strategy because it's in your control. So we as Black men have to also recognize that while we do have a particular set of rules, we also have a particular legacy. And that legacy reflected by people like Tony and Michael and you, Alfred, and those who are gathering for this Black Men Excel conference is that we come from a tradition of excellence, of people who had faced tremendous challenges and still excelled. And so now we have our obligation to be standing on the shoulders of giants, to be giants ourselves, that others can stand on our shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, you want to jump in?
You know, what I'm hearing Randal talk about, and I heard Mike use the word authentic, and it makes me think about the importance of men, of Black men being our authentic selves, right? We're kind of like, we got this thing at a call to men, we call it the man box, right? Where we're supposed to conform to all these norms of how you define what it means to be a man, be aggressive, be dominated, be tough, be strong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I am saying we all can't do that. Right? It's not in all of our DNA to do that. And so I think it's really important for men to be who they are, to be your authentic selves, right? That when you're authentic, you're healthy. You're much more healthier when you're authentic. When you're authentic, you're not caught up in a role self. You have the ability then to be your whole self. I just think doors open up for us as men when we're more authentic. And to Mike's point, my sons, they would wait, you know, on lines, you know, a mile long. They would sit on the edge of their seats to hear him come and talk to them. So I really appreciate him using his influence, using his platform. But when he gets in the room with them boys, they don't need to hear nothing about the X's and O's of football. Ain't none of them gonna play football nowhere for the most part. They need to hear about what it means to be a man. And a lot of times for us as Black men, the area of manhood that we lock in on is achieving. And I understand it because this race construct, this foot of oppression on our throats makes it so hard to achieve. But one of the things that's really, really important for us as men to also embrace is our emotional stability, man, to really understand who we are emotionally, because that's what trips us up, even when doors are open for us to achieve. Not understanding who we are emotionally and being able to deal with that and work through that trips us up all the time. So I want to hear brothers like Mike and brothers like Randal, when they're in the rooms with these boys, to also talk about compassion, talk about love. As men, we don't even use the word love, man. It's like using the word love is a sign of weakness. You know, like for me to say, I love Mike, I love you, Al, and I love you, Randal. You know, if I say it to a group of boys, they want to know, first of all, am I gay? Comes to their mind, because what's up with you? Because they take love to mean intimacy, to mean sex, right? I didn't say I'm in love. I said I love you. All right. It's hard for Black men to get around that. We got so much distrust.
I love you, Tony.
Trauma.
I love you, Mike. I love you, Alfred. I'm gonna join in with that.
Hey, I love you
and
too, brother. I love all y'all.
Our young men need to hear that. We need to model that with them. So it's really about, you know, along with all the roads to success that we can share with them, but how to help them also be their whole self, man, is instrumental, because if they don't grab that, they're going to tumble.
Mike, you know, speaking of excelling but not getting any love. So when you came back to football, you served your time. You came back. You did your service, and you came back. And then you had to excel in an environment that was anything but love, that was anything but compassionate. I want you to talk less about how the people responded, but more about how you approached from a mental wellness standpoint, your ability to continue to perform, to continue to excel. What was your mindset to not really need the affirmation of the world in order for you to be authentic Michael Vick, both as a quarterback and as a man, and to continue to move forward with your life, even when other people were trying to kind of hold you in one spot in your life?
Well, I felt like I was living in a bubble with a ton of pressure around it. And you know, just taking it back in Randal's point, you talk about the emotion, you talk about just being an example, you talking about just, you know, kind of letting everything, you know, kind of hang out and pour out. When, you know, I think about, when I think about Black men excel, and I don't want to get off on a tangent and talk about, you know, get off on something else, but, you know, this is just on my mind. You think about, you know, Black men excel in environments that, you know, probably most of us grew up in and where we come from. And I watched so many young guys, so many guys my age who had so many opportunities. You know, it was right there in front of them. You know, it just took a little focus. You know, it took a little passion. The word that was mentioned, you know, earlier by Randal. Like, you know, I had a little bit of focus. I had some passion, but it was also growing up in environments that, you know, it wasn't the most feasible. It was hard, you know, and I think we lose a lot right then and there emotionally, because, you know, you feel like is no way out. And I think, you know, having a chance to come out of that and being an example, I just think about so many guys who were my age, who all they had to do was set goals and believe in themselves and have a little push from the outside world, and it just wasn't there, you know. So I feel like, and I say all that to say, it was so much opportunity for young Black men who I grew up with, and a lot of those guys are either dead or in jail. So we lose a whole population of people who could have made, you know, some type of impact, you know, on the world. And, you know, that was unfortunate, but, you know, I had to, you know, bring that up because, you know, it was pressure. And when I came home from prison, I felt the pressure. I felt like I was living in a bubble. My primary focus was, okay, how do I just make myself happy? And I can't go out and please everyone. I'm not going to be accepted. It's a gang of people who have their beliefs, and it's a gang of people who have their beliefs, and I have my own beliefs. And you talking about authenticity, I'm saying to myself, I'm gonna stay true to myself. I set goals when I was in prison. I accomplished almost everything that I wanted to accomplish and then some. And that right there was the ultimate, like, you know, it was the ultimate, like, confirmation that I could do anything that I want to do in my life. And that was just me, you know, and I had a platform and I had people waiting for me, and you know, they had their arms open saying, if you want to come out and do this, we will accept you. But it was still up to me to do the day-to-day work, the hard work, when everybody was asleep. You know, I'm up late thinking about, you know, how do I, you know, ease the pressure up off of myself, still play ball, still be a family man, still take care of my kids. And just love doing the things that I love to do. And most importantly, at the time, it was playing football. So, I came out of that. I came out of it unscathed. There was bumps and bruises. I'm still growing every day, but I have to pay a tribute to, the emotions that grew inside of me when I was young, man. And, I couldn't help but just talk about, all the young Black men that could have excelled along with me. And I think could have helped, me in a sense, make better decisions. But, I came out of it, and I'm certainly thankful that I was able to come out of it and be here and on a Zoom call with you guys today, talking about my experiences and how we're gonna help, those to come after us.
Yeah, one of the reasons we were so happy, Mike, that you decided to join us is because we know our legacy at Black Enterprise in terms of telling the stories of success, that if you don't tell the story of our overcoming as individuals and as a group, the most powerful lesson that we have to help others overcome, and as brothers who are with us right now, who will take your story, take Randal's story, take Tony's story, and that might be the thing that gets them past the next crisis, right. Whether it's the global pandemic, whether it's just the mental anguish of watching Black people, unarmed Black people get killed, or just the regular problems of I lost a loved one during this period, or I gotta educate my child at home while trying to figure out how to make a living. That we need to Tony's point, at least open up to each other the way sisters do and say, okay, I know what it looks like on the outside, but let me tell you what I'm going through on the inside, because that might help you go a little further along the way. Randal, I kind of want to want you to jump in, because I wanted to hit this point before we, for all three of you to hit this point before we run out of time. What are the priorities that we should be thinking about as Black men in this particular environment? We got a very, very, critical election coming up that we know is going to make a huge difference in our country for all of us. We have still the ongoing challenge of the pandemic. We have this push for racial justice and systemic change that we don't know how long this window of opportunity is going to be open, but we need to push now for certain things. I want to start with Randal, but you guys can jump in, Tony and Mike. What should be our focus between now and, let's say, November 3rd and beyond, in this particular critical moment for us as not just as Black men, but as Americans, as people?
Yeah, I'll paint a picture, and then Tony and Mike can close us out. I'm reminded of this picture I saw of a bridge. On one side of the bridge was the haves, on the other side of the bridge is the have-nots. And the caption of the picture says, "Another deteriorating bridge." When I think about where we are as Black men, the gap, even for us, between those of us who have and those who have not, that bridge is deteriorating. And I think our mindset has to be on how many brothers can we grab to pull across that bridge as we see COVID-19, as we see racism, as we see a recession creating even greater schisms and fissures and gaps between those of us who had the benefit or the blessing of working from home or still being able to care for ourselves and take care of our kids, and those who just are struggling just to see the other side of the bridge. So I think we have to focus on that and our obligation, those of us who are privileged to be on that other side, to get out the vote, to inspire others through the example that we have, and to make sure we're giving back to those who are not as fortunate as we are. But that's a way of kind of framing the last conversations, that bridge, pulling brothers over.
Tony?
Yeah, I'm gonna build right off of what Brother Randal shared. How many can we grab, continue to grab where you can't even count? Understanding that my responsibility goes beyond my family, I have 3 sons. It goes beyond my sons, right? I have a community of sons that I'm responsible for, right? I want to stay with Mike's story, man. I remember being in a team room with him, I think 2 or 3 days since he joined the Eagles, getting out, news trucks all outside, everybody there just to blow him up. Staying focused, man, and staying humble and staying teachable, right? This man never said a bad word that I heard on the media since he'd been home, and they were on him, right? Even to today, so we're talking years later, still never heard him say a bad word on the media. Staying focused, staying true to yourself, right? And bringing other brothers along. I'll say it one more time. It's so much for us to learn from sisters, man. It's a textbook for us as brothers to learn how to bring each other along.
Mike, you want to jump in?
Appreciate that, Tony. The kind words, man, they supersede, everything that we talked about today, man. I appreciate that so much. And to Randall's point, talking about that bridge, I can only envision like a long arm that can stretch across that bridge and pull every man or woman across that bridge who need help, black man or woman. Come on, I got you. When you get on the other side, do your part.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, I got you. Get on the other side, do your part. And I think that's what 2020 has taught us, man. Like we have to be, sincerely humble, appreciative of the fact that we can wake up every day and be a difference maker. And I always tell my kids, every day you got to make all 24 hours count. And decisions you make going to reflect on you, the family, and those that come after you. And I think we've learned so much this year. I think we've been able to kind of galvanize and come together and look and really see what the underlying issues are and how to exploit them. And I think to define it, everybody just has to do their part. Step up right now. Be more tangible. Be more competent, understand what's going on around you, and just continue to help people come across that bridge. Man, I'm gonna use that phrase until the last day now. It's all about reaching back across that bridge and pulling people with you. That's what we got to do.
Yeah. So listen, in the time we got left, and we got about 5 minutes left, I want to turn a little bit inward. We talked about how the world is impacting us as Black men. We talked about the things that we can do to be change agents, to make a difference in the world. I mean, not just in our families and the communities, but we make a difference in the world across every industry and every area of endeavor. We do that. But let's talk about the self-care component. One of the great things that have come out of Black Men Excel over the years is a session that we thought would be kind of a less popular session has turned out to be the most popular session. And that is we do some kind of session on mental wellness in Black men every year. And it's a packed room. And again, I'm sure for this virtual event, it'll be a packed session because what we found out pleasantly so several years ago, we have turned a corner. We're not there, but we have turned a corner about Black men saying, you know what? We need this. Who cares about the stigma? We got to survive. And there's a growing sentiment around Black men that we have to take, just like sisters do, to Tony's point, self-care seriously in order to fight this battle, to achieve our goals, to serve our families, to serve our mates, to serve communities that we live in, and to make it better for the next generation. Talk a little bit about what you would recommend, let's say, to our audience about the self-care steps that we could take to really, travel this road of Black manhood. And let me start with Mike, and then, Randal and Tony, you guys can jump in. What do you do to keep yourself strong? That's about how you treat yourself and care for yourself, Mike.
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to realize that, look, I am who I am, and look, I look at myself as I am God. I am, and I say that with all due respect. I say I am because, I live through the Spirit. People have to live through the Spirit and the higher power and whatever they believe in, whomever they believe in. That's what has to move you. That's what has to touch you. I pray as much as I can. And I try to, live by faith, not by sight. And, I try to let those words carry me every day because that's all the motivation I need. I'm going to go through life and we're going to go through life and we're going to experience some amazing things and we're going to experience some things that, we're going to question. But at the end of the day, it's all about staying mentally strong. And you control that narrative. We all control the narrative when we wake up every morning, put our shoes and socks and shoes on and walk out that door. So, staying true to yourself means everything to me, and the authenticity that you bring along and the energy is everything.
Randal.
Yeah, I'm gonna channel Mike's direction like he was channeling mine before, and Tony's as well. Alfred, you remember back when we were at Rutgers, my first company was called Mind, Body, and Soul.
Yes.
And that says it all. Or mind, body, and spirit, to piggyback off Mike's use of words. Spirit, I'm a child of God, and I remind myself of that every morning and every night and throughout the day, that I answer to a higher power, and that he's not calling me to be successful. He's calling me to be great, and great means of service to others. So I got to look beyond myself in that regard. Second is the body. I mean, Alfred, you like the bodybuilder extraordinaire now, so I'm giving you another shout. But, I exercise, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm hitting the gym. I'm getting my cardio. I'm trying to stay right, because I can't fight this fight if I can't take care of myself. That's nutrition, it's wellness, it's diet, it's exercise, and it's also a good release for me as well. And then lastly is the mind, and Mike and Tony both talked about this. It's the mindset, and it is having the ability to know that you're gonna need a break. That if you're running this race, you can take care of your body and take care of your spirit, but if you don't give your mind a rest and give yourself space for self-care, for just time with family, friends, loved ones, to step away from whatever it is that's paying your bills, then you're out of balance. So I just say mind, body, and spirit, man. It's that simple.
Tony, I'm gonna give the last word to you, bro.
Yeah, man, I'm just gonna tap on. They don't hit it all out of the box, man. It for me is about rest. Getting adequate. I'm getting older. I'm older than all you guys. It's about rest, man. It's about taking care of my body. It's about the spirit. It's about my relationship with God, man. I'm a Christian man. My Christian walk is really, really important. I'm a leader, but understanding that I'm a servant leader and what that means. Respecting the favor that I have, understanding grace and mercy, that all I've been provided, and then how I use that and how I respect that, right? How I give back and how I'm present with others, all these things. And a lot of what I'm talking about is wisdom. I couldn't have told you the same thing 20, 30 years ago. But now that I do have wisdom, am I going to be, am I going to operate in that wisdom? And that's what a lot of us have it, don't operate in it. So it's really operating in the wisdom, and following through, man, and loving my people, man. I love my people, man, and showing up in that way. That's what carries my heart and my spirit. It helps me to be the man that I am today.
So on that note, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna say it again. I love you, Tony. I love you, Randal. I love you, Mike. Listen, guys, this is a great discussion.
Love you guys.
Love you. Yes. So yeah, thank you guys for sharing, for pouring into the attendees of Black Men Excel, and to your attendees. This is just the beginning. Enjoy the rest of the conference. It's going to be amazing, because these brothers got it started off right. Thank you, brothers.
Thank you.
Thank you.